All right, everyone. Thanks so much for coming out. I see a lot of familiar faces. If you don't know me, my name's Pat. My wife and I own the shop here. Picked it up in 2022. These talks, free seminars have been a long tradition at the shop, and we're happy to keep that going. These are great community way to bring people together, and it's a lot of fun. Just a couple things. 10% off everything in the shop afterwards. If you want to pick something up, go ahead. I mentioned earlier we do have some prizes we'll be giving away at the end. Uncle Kurt's tungsten flies, he was nice enough to donate a little package of some flies that, kind of the stuff that PJ is going to be talking about here. And
if you want to take a look at the package.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Sure.
Steal some.
Yeah. And Kurt, you wanted a picture with the winner, you said, for your social media stuff.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, that's totally fine. Trying to think what else. I guess, I don't know how many of you ice fish, but we're getting more ice around town. Cherokee's been good. Monona Bay's been good. Weechawuk Bay, Turville Bay all have ice. Wabisa capped over the other day completely, but they've been on Lake Farm and on the south end of the lake there for a couple days now, getting some fish. Keeganza just capped over the other day, and probably won't be safe until after this cold snap, but we got some cold weather coming through, so looking forward to that. But I know I'm forgetting stuff. It sucks. But we have PJ Smith here tonight. PJ awesome. Is a very well-known guide, lives in Westby, guides the Driftless area, has been doing that for 20 years or so, really knows his stuff. And I had kind of randomly come across a podcast where they were talking about winter fishing and where they talked with PJ, and I was like, this is super interesting, and I think it'd be a great topic for a seminar. So I hit PJ up, and awesome. Here we are. We'll be, I feel free to ask any questions while we're doing it. He's got some show and tell stuff and a little presentation. So I think that's it. Let's welcome PJ.
Awesome. Fantastic. Thank you, Pat, by the way, for having me in. Again, I'm PJ Smith. I am from Westby, Wisconsin, originally from the Chicagoland area. Don't hold that against me. I don't follow any sports play with balls, so it doesn't matter. So, but yeah, thanks for having me out. Luckily, the weather held off really nice. It's nice to see a lot of snow, and we're getting some cold and all that. So we're going to talk about winter fly fishing. Don't just take winter fly fishing as just fly fishing. This can carry over to using a spin rod in the winter as well. It's not, most of what I'm talking about is just kind of like a little bit of technique, how to stay safe, how to stay warm, where to find some of these fish. And it's trout fishing, and that as Wisconsin opens up the first Saturday in January, which I believe is January 3rd. So an early one this year, which is great.
22 days, not that I'm counting.
There you go. It's kind of like Christmas, but for us, it's when we can start fishing again, because they close the season now on October 15th. And again, we kind of get to go deer hunting or whatever we need to do a little ice fishing, and then we can get right back on the streams. So let's just crack right into it. There's some streams right there. Little brown trout. A little bit about me. I've been fly fishing for over 30 years, and I've been fishing for over 50. So fished conventionally with my grandparents and my uncle, and started fly fishing right out of college. Next thing you know, I left a really nice paying spot in the Chicagoland area and decided to become a poor fly fishing guide here in the Driftless. Some of the skills that I brought with me for fly fishing, I've done a ton of mountain climbing back in the day when I could do that stuff. Now I feel some of that, but I backcountry skied into Yellowstone. I used to winter camp, skiing up into Nicolet National Forest. A lot of stuff like that. So backcountry skiing into Yellowstone. I've had snow bases over 15 feet, snow every day, 4 feet, with temps well into 30 below zero, estimated wind chill at over 80. So I do understand the cold. I assure you 80 below is not a good time to go fly fishing though. But I keep things pretty simple, pretty basic. I do tell you, like, be prepared for this. I was a Boy Scout back in the day, Eagle Scout. Being prepared is definitely a necessity for this kind of thing. And being safe. It's super fun to go winter fishing. But as long as you're kind of prepared and safe and kind of know what the good and the bad comes with it, it can be just a really awesome time. So yeah, let's get started. Watching the weather, you want to look for those key times. Winter time is a great time to kind of become that fair weather fisher person. Looking for ideal conditions, looking for those warm days. It's okay to sleep in. You do not need to hit them at the crack of dawn. It's usually too cold. You also don't want to sleep too late, but you know, sleeping in's okay. Having a big old breakfast is fine. Big thing is carrying a thermometer, finding your comfort level. These are some pictures from a few years ago. Again, we'll just kind of go through. Also, don't be afraid to ask questions as we go through this. That's my other thing. So you need to find your comfort level, whatever temperature you're comfortable at. You know, if it's 16 degrees or 20 degrees or whatever, that's fine. Don't be afraid of having kind of that cutoff. So yeah, and then just make sure you check regs. Not every piece of water in Wisconsin is open on that first Saturday in January. Just kind of make sure. You know, if you go over towards Milwaukee, it's kind of open all year round. And that's usually for steelhead and salmon and stuff. But as you get into the Driftless, most of that is open. Just double check. Again, things change year to year. So yeah.
What about like Iowa and Minnesota?
So Iowa's usually open all year. I don't fish. I fished Iowa once. And most of it's open. It's usually a put and take fishery, although they have started getting some good water that is actually reproducing fish and all that. So it is open. And then Minnesota, you can usually fish the state parks and some of the county parks that are there. A lot of their water is closed, but then you do have open water or open seasons throughout the winter time. So yeah, go ahead.
So I'm from Iowa.
Okay, you're from Iowa. Okay.
So actually, Iowa, 90% of the streams in Iowa naturally reproduce now.
Right. Well, and they've worked really, again, I fished there years and years ago. Haven't really been back. Again, it's kind of hard to leave fish to go find fish, but
They do stocking, and it's just rainbows.
yeah.
Good stuff.
Yeah, and it's starting to change. It's great because Iowa's worked really hard to start getting natural reproducing stock. Kind of like Wisconsin. Wisconsin has a lot of really good reproducing streams. And again, it's been great because they are reproducing. And that Iowa, I know, and they're one of the few places that actually has a natural strain of brook trout that like everybody's really excited about. So, and that is great because that's one of the true natives for this area, and it's super nice. There we go. This is what everybody fears right here: the ice, the iced up guides, and all that. Picture of my. You'd be amazed at how warm it actually can get at times. This says 57. That's probably a picture from like early season, but we're looking for that between 45 and that 57 temperature and stuff. And then there's a nice little brook trout. We'll talk about safety first, shelf ice, extreme cold, etc., falling, and all that. You can see here on this one, let's see if this works. Little bit of shelf ice right here. Again, this is pretty mild. This is a few years ago. The last few winters, we've not had it super, super cold, so there wasn't as much shelf ice. Ironically, when I was driving in today, most of my trip was along the West Fork and then over by Camp Creek. Tons of shelf ice, like the West Fork in a couple spots completely locked over and stuff. So it's kind of weird that haven't had that in a while. Now we do. It'll change though. There were some spots you could see where some ice had already started breaking up and that. But shelf ice is a big deal. If you get into some of these spots, especially bigger water that will have these big sheets of ice, I know a couple people that have actually been pushed over by a giant sheet of ice. Oh, there we go. It will push you over. It's totally silent. Push you over. Next thing you know, you got a giant sheet of ice on top of you, and that's how some people die. So I usually try to fish upstream a lot, or fish with other people. Just keep an eye on that as it's coming downstream, because a sheet of ice is totally quiet. So it wouldn't be good. I usually try to keep either a net or like a waiting staff kind of behind me too, so I can kind of like, maybe feel it coming before and that. So yeah, shelf ice, also getting in and out because it's ice, slippery and all that. These things right here, I noticed Pat had some like creepers and all that, kind of like when you're fishing out there. These you can put on your wading boots, super nice. Just little like crampons or creepers that help you kind of grip that ice, grip the rocks. It's surprisingly in the wintertime how slippery the rocks and then even the mud can get. So that kind of helps. Just one extra thing to kind of keep you upright. The extreme cold, usually my cutoff is right around 18 degrees. At 18 degrees, you get a lot of icing up in your guides. It starts getting pretty uncomfortable. Anything lower than that, and then it's really, usually the fishing isn't that great either. So I try to limit that. I have been out in colder when I was younger. I just don't do it now. And then letting somebody know if you're going out there solo, just let your partner, a friend know that you're going out there, or you can fish with friends, and all that. And then also driving in that weather too. That's another thing you're probably more apt to maybe get in a car accident and stuff. So waiting staff, pretty critical. I think that was from last year, right at opener, 16 degrees. I fished it anyways, broke a rod tip because the ice was so bad, but fishing with friends. So staying warm, dress in layers. Again, most of you guys have probably hunted and fished and all that. So, dressing in layers, having a hat on, etc. It's all kind of pretty standard, but if you're fairly new to it, just trying to add those warm layers. The key is not to get overheated too. That's why I usually put on a fresh pair of socks just before I get into my waders. Because as you're wearing your socks, you're going there, you're driving with the heat on. Next thing you know, your feet are sweating, and that's gonna make your feet cold as you do that. I really like these these alpaca socks right now. These have been my latest acquisition. They work really nice. You know, everybody's into the merino wool, but for some reason these alpaca socks, super nice, lightweight. I just wear these in my waders, seem to work just fine. I do tend to run a little hot if you don't have great circulation or whatever. You might need a little bit more. Key thing is, don't get overpacked. Don't put like 2 pairs of these. Put them into your boots. Next thing you know, your feet are so scrunched up. That also will kill your circulation pretty good. So yeah, the other thing, nitro gloves. I didn't bring a set of those, but they're like those surgical gloves or what you see mechanics use. You can buy it at like Harbor Freight or some places like that. 9mm nitro gloves. They keep your hands dry. They kind of keep the wind off. And then I usually just carry a small towel with me when I release the fish. Dry my hands off, dry those gloves off. Makes it super nice. The nitro gloves are great just for the simple fact that they're easy, that doesn't harm the fish. Actually, some of the gloves, the wool gloves in that, they'll pull the slime off of a fish. You can see nitro gloves right here. Right there, ended up taking an early boat ride with this guy for some trout and all that. But the nitro gloves are nice, kind of keep your hand warm. And then like hand warmers and stuff, again, there's like multiple different kinds, like these, and that, the old-fashioned kind. How many guys remember these old school ones right here? Like these are actually pretty awesome, you know, they're kind of like a Zippo lighter and all that. They work really great. They don't work when they get wet though, just so you know. But they're kind of nice. You keep them kind of cold, you know, tucked in. They won't get super, super hot. These are nice. Again, they're cheap. You can throw them in your bag when you need them. Nowadays, they have the plug-in ones. I haven't seen those. Again, you know, I have a bunch of this stuff, so it's kind of like use what you got. So yeah, it works really good. So yeah, keeping your hands warm, that's usually the like Achilles heel of most winter fly fishing, because when you're casting and all that, stripping in, both of these hands get wet. You're pulling in line and that. So it's okay to stop as well. The other thing I use, put one of these things on. So it's just a muff. I just put it around every once in a while. I tuck my hands in there, keeps it warm. Keep a couple of those like heaters in there. Super nice. It's okay to stop. You're not running a marathon in this thing. You're just going out for a few hours. Super good. So yeah, a little muff like that. Water is kind of your biggest enemy except for staying hydrated. Have that big breakfast in the morning. Again, you don't have to get out of there. Maybe some hot cocoa. This is my wife's bag right here. Nice warm boots, and then some hot cocoa and stuff like that. So making it nice and easy. Don't be afraid to take a shot or two if you want. This is some musky fishing late season and all that, but figured I'd throw that in. There's some early nitro gloves, the blue ones and all that. I like the black ones now because they just a little bit heavier duty. The blue ones just always split apart. Again, there's a lot of gloves out there. These are kind of like a mitten glove, which is nice. They kind of have a fold back, keep your fingertips open, but then they fold back. Those are kind of nice. Obviously, all the stocking caps and all that. Kind of keeping your time, just a few hours. Again, you don't have to go out there for 12 hours straight. Usually the weather just isn't that conducive for that. I like to keep a change of clothes going. You know, I carry a bag like this. It's a waterproof bag, keeps all my clothes and everything in it. I can just throw that in the truck. If something goes south, aka falling down into the water, etc., I've got options. I can get back to the truck usually pretty quick, change clothes, get in my truck. Sometimes you just get overly cold say the wind changes, starts getting extra cold, you run back to the truck. You've got an extra sweater, an extra jacket, etc. in there. I do carry a blanket in my truck. This is kind of, I don't know, kind of a Midwesty thing. I don't know, but I always just keep this in my truck. Kind of comes out, it's kind of like a sleeping bag. It's got a nice pile thing. I just keep it in there full time, all season long. It comes in handy. I get a client that actually gets cold, pull that out, throw that on them as we're driving back. Makes it nice and easy. Extra gear stuff, carrying a cooler, extra bag with extra gear in it. Most of the time, if you got a big vehicle, most of that isn't going to take up too much room. But you kind of, again, want to be prepared for whatever. If it starts snowing, you need that extra layer. I try to make sure I'm wearing clothes like cotton. Cotton, yeah, everybody's heard cotton is the killer. Synthetic, wool, waterproof stuff, breathable, Gore-Tex, etc. is kind of the stuff that makes you survive this stuff. Yes.
Do you have any preference between the boot foot or stocking foot waders?
So I tend to run, I run a stocking foot, basically a breathable wader. It's not Gore-Tex, but it's Orvis's Pro Wader. That's what I've been wearing for many, many years now. The nice thing is it's breathable, so it kind of helps you get some of that water out. The only reason why I don't run boot foot is just because I run a stocking foot. If I had enough where I could buy two, having that boot foot might be kind of nice. I mean, years ago I ran kind of like the neoprene with the kind of like a duck hunter style. Neoprene, heavy boot, way heavy, and neoprene does not breathe. By the time I get done, I'd be cold because I was sweating so much in it. These are nice. I run boots that are, I wouldn't say loose, but they're comfortable. Like they're comfortable all season for me.
Do you have any problem with your boots icing up or anything? Stiff on you?
I mean, I've had everything freeze on me. That first picture in there, that my entire leg is frozen as far as like the outside. Yeah. I'm warm, but the waders, everything is frozen. I mean, I've had my laces basically freeze on me. Things like that happen. When you tend to walk a lot, you will warm up enough that it'll actually start pushing that heat out a little bit. If it's so cold that everything starts really, really freezing, probably not the ideal time to be fishing. So you might call it a day. Again, that few hours, you're hitting that window.
18 degrees, huh?
Yeah, you're hitting that 18 degree, 20, 23. Some guys, my wife's like, oh, I'm not going out unless it's like, maybe 25 to 35. That's kind of her level. I've gone out, I only did 16 because that was opening day last year. I fished one day, I fished for an hour, broke a rod, caught some fish. It was a success. It was cold, it was ridiculously cold. However, I didn't feel overly cold at myself, but I mean, it was cold enough, it froze the rod and it was not good, so.
You're not using insulated waders or anything?
No, I'm just using my regular, I'm wearing a regular.
Spring, summer waders on? And
Yep, I'm wearing the waders that I wear all season long. They're big enough that I can, yeah, and I mean, I wouldn't use a lightweight wader. I mean, if that's what you got, if you're gonna go out 2-3 times, that's all you need.
Just layer up underneath.
Just layer up. Yeah, we'll get into that just in a little bit too. I don't know if you saw there, like this is a basically a puffy jacket. Down right now, or the Primaloft. Primaloft right now is like the hottest thing. It's phenomenal. It's kind of waterproof. It basically takes your heat and then radiates it right back into you. And there's so many companies using that stuff. Like Orvis has that, etc. I don't know. It's like Pat, you might know a few more companies in that, but they're, it's out there. It's, biggest thing is if trying to avoid it getting wet and trying not to overheat. So many people try to start way hotter than they need to. It's kind of like hunting. I got a buddy that he puts everything on, walks out to the stand. Next thing you know, he's back in 3 hours because he's frozen. I go out there, I walk out in practically a t-shirt half the time. By the time I hit the stand, I'm like super hot. It takes me about 10 minutes, cool off. Then I just start putting on my layers as I start getting colder. And I'm out there all day long. So it's all a layering thing and adjusting as needed. You want to avoid sweating. Again, sometimes you can't. If it's a super nice day and you're going back to the truck in 30 minutes, it's okay to sweat a little bit. Just be aware of it. If you're going to be out there for 3 hours, you don't want to start out sweating. Like, layer down, just bring a pack and change up as you need to go. Typical 2-hat system right there. It's weird. Like, Pat's got one, the Stormy Chromer and all that, where you can actually like have a brim. I wish they would make, like a decent stocking cap that had a decent brim, not the little tiny brim. Like, those do nothing for me. But usually a 2-layer hat system. And then she's wearing a buff. She likes to keep the wind off of her. I kind of have a built-in buff. So my gear setup, I keep it pretty simple. Again, we're dealing with really clear creeks. I run a 3 or a 4 weight rod. If I am streamer fishing, I might switch it up to a 5. I keep it, again, pretty simple. This is what I use throughout the season. A 3 or 4 weight. My leaders are usually a little lighter and a little longer at this time. A 4X usually does the ticket. 9-footers. I know I saw, Pat, you had some Scientific Angler, the creek trout. Mm-hmm. That stuff is awesome. Like, if you want a good line for the Driftless, that is the line. I've talked to the guys there at Scientific Angler, and they're like, this is what this was designed for. So creek trout line, it used to be called SBT, short belly taper. It has a shorter belly. All the weight is packed into that belly. So most lines are kind of designed for 30 foot. That's where the load is. Guess what? 30 foot in the Driftless, you're already casting way farther than you ever should. So it's a nice short belly. Everything's compact. So you only need like maybe 15 feet of line out there, and it starts loading your rod properly. Great line, great all around, just takes care of it. Works really good, loads those rods really nice. Works for streamers, works for nymphs, works for dry flies. And then I use really tiny indicators, the Oros, the really small ones, or I'll switch to a, kind of like a poly yarn type. Those land really nice. Again, you're dealing with thin, clear water. Those fish get really spooky in the wintertime. So you want to think stealth. If you throw too big of an indicator, you might as well just throw rocks into the water. So nice and small. Fishing part. Nymph streamers, low and slow, sometimes dry. So here's a typical stream. You can see all the way to the bottom. This is probably only just, it goes from the edge. This might be about maybe a foot and a half right there on the edge in the deeper section. They can get pretty spooky. You can see one of my clients here, he's crouched down, doing that stealth mode, nothing really out of the ordinary. He's like crouched in, not standing super tall, getting into those small zones where, and you'd be amazed at how far they can see you. Like on this stretch over here, you could stand there and those fish even down there will see you. Like they can see a lot farther than you think they can. And especially if you're moving, they'll see that silhouette. Cool thing about winter fishing is like all of the brush is down. The bad thing about fishing in the winter, all of that brush is down. They can see you. So hide behind those trees, wear camo, tuck in. So a little spooky. Here's kind of my nymph box. You can see my cheater flies in there, and that's the red worms and all that. But just your typical, everybody's like, oh, what nymphs do you use? Anything bead head will work, from like 20s all the way up to 12s. Any bead head nymph will work. This is kind of my version of kind of like nymph streamer pattern. I know this Pat had some stuff out there from Ben. Great flies, by the way. 2-wick flies. Oh my gosh. Like his little mini jig.
Mini jiggy thing.
Yeah.
Yep.
Phenomenal fly.
Yep.
That's kind of how some of this started. Like I talked to Ben years ago and I'm like, yeah, that makes sense to me. Because you can fish this like a jig, like a nymph, like a streamer. Super easy. There's not much to it. It's easy to tie if you tie your own flies. There's a lot of guys out there making some of this stuff now, which is great. This is another little pattern I came up with. It's kind of a play off of the Perdigon Prince nymph style. Just a nice small body, kind of a big thorax, and then of course the hot spot. For some reason, these fish like a hot spot. Again, fairly easy tie, and you can tie a pile of them, and I don't worry about losing them.
Are those tungsten?
I use tungsten and I use brass. Again, it's that whole depth. If I'm fishing kind of a deeper pool, I want the tungsten. I started, for years, I never used tungsten. I'm like, I'm not paying that money and all that. Buddy of mine handed me some tungsten. I had to change my ways. Now I pay a lot of money for tungsten, but I was buying like 1,000 beads at a time. So that's my volume. You guys don't need to do that. Like if you're tying professionally, yeah, but yeah.
What size are those?
This one's probably like I'm betting these are maybe a 12 or a 14. That's kind of my standard. I might go 16, sometimes 18.
Decent size then.
Yeah, yeah. I kind of, if they're going to eat them, they're going to eat them. If they're not, then they're too finicky and, I don't give, they're trout. The eat or don't eat, I don't care. I'm moving on. Some people get really fanatical about it. The weird thing is like for, in the summer when I fish tricos and that, now I'm a fanatic, like 26s and stuff. You're like, yeah, really, like 6X tippet, like, meh. So, but yeah, during the winter, I mean, I do tend to go down in size for a lot of stuff. And you kind of have to base it on what you think they're doing and what you can see. Like, don't be afraid to just stop and look into that water. One, it's clear. Bring a pair of binoculars with you.
Do you ever take a gut sucker along?
What's that?
Do you ever take a gut sucker?
I don't. I'm.
Oh.
Yeah, exactly. I know guys that do.
Yeah.
Honestly, I mean, I know a lot of old guys that, and not saying you're an old guy, but you know what I mean? Like that used to be standard. I got enough stuff I'm carrying around. I don't need to, you know, if I really, I'd say most of the time I think I can figure them out.
Sure.
Again, not a bad thing. If you do have it, like take it out. My thing is like they worked really hard to get those. Now all of a sudden you just pull it out of them. It's like, what do you do? Put it back in them? I don't know. I just
Throw them in and
kind of like stealing my meal. Like here, throw up, and then yeah, go home now. Like so. And then there's a big bag of streamers. Streamers are kind of my thing in the winter. It's just I don't know it. They work really good for me. This is my bag in after a snowstorm and all that. I love fishing snowstorms. Right there, you can see like that's that's probably a size, maybe a 4. Pretty big streamer right there. Pretty big brown eating there. And then the glorious pink squirrel. If you're not carrying pink squirrels, forget about it. But yeah, pink squirrels, nymphs, streamers and all that. Great stuff for that. And then everybody gets all freaked out by this. Little black stones. And we're talking size like 12, sometimes 14. It looks like somebody took pepper and just peppered the entire snow. You can see them a ton in the snow. Weird thing is, last year, there were a ton of them out, but you could never see them because there wasn't enough snow on the ground. But they're there. This is actually a little rubber leg stimulator. Actually works really good for them. Also a little tiny black leech, so a nymph kind of like that. This is me running basically a rubber leg stimulator and a nymph on there, a bead head.
And what size is the stone?
You know, they run like right around like I've seen some as big as like 12.
Okay.
So it's a little black stone. They're tiny. This is early season. This is like, I want to say July. This is January. And they're out there. They're hard to see if there's not snow on the ground. When there's snow on the ground, you can see them pretty.
Back to the streamers. Do you have like does it matter winter, summer colors?
I usually run slightly darker. I mean, you could, let me go back a little bit.
I'm just curious.
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of like an orangish one. I mean, I've got my bag here. You can kind of see. I like white. I think the reason why I like white is I can see it in the water a little better. I mean, I do run black a lot. I mean, you can't go wrong with a black woolly bugger. I mean, you know, if you had to start picking flies for the Driftless, it'd be a pink squirrel, black woolly bugger, and like an Adams. You get away with 3 of those.
See those like sculpins in there too, those little brown.
Yeah.
They feed on them. Maybe.
Yeah, I mean, you could go with a dark brown or dark olive, and you know, like a woolly bugger, and that fish it with a big heavy tungsten bead on there, get it down to the bottom. Anything variegated too, like if you look at a lot of my stuff, like variegation is a huge thing. Like if you look at natural bugs, they're not absolutely completely solid. There's some variegation to them, usually. You know, you look at a fly like this, it's pretty black. Like it's a black stonefly, and it's pretty black. So you could get away, like, again, I've used little black leeches, and they eat them because they think they're that fly coming out of the water. And you can see, like, these are all these bugs. I had a few others. Of course, you know, the light didn't come out right for the slide, but yeah. And then you could even use like a little black stone, like dry. You could even use a Griffith's gnat, tied dark. You know, that again, the fish They don't read. They don't know that it's a Griffin's gnat and it's supposed to be a midge cluster. You know what I mean? Like, it's just a black bug on top of the water. You know, like, they're not that smart. So use what you have. You know, I carry tricos around all year round. Guess what? I fish tricos in the winter time. When you have a little tiny black midge coming off, I use a trico. I can see the trico. It's got a little white post. They eat them. It's small. It's usually size, shape, then color, especially for dry stuff. Does that make sense? Any other questions on that?
Any little bit of, like a wet flies, 3-4 inches, 2-3 inches?
Yeah, I mean, you know, that's where like a nymph that's maybe like a bead head and then swung downstream and lifted. I tend to run bead heads all the time just because that's the timing that I have. But I know guys that fish wets all the time and they slay. My wife loves swinging wets and she does really well, definitely on the swing down. So you're downstream fishing on the swing, usually a little bit later in the season. We're talking like that April, March time, maybe late February. Kind of depends on the temps. You know, if you're seeing a lot more bugs on the water, and it can be a dark or a light. I mean, I've seen a tan, you know, like a partridge and whatever, tan, just slay. But then I've seen like a really dark one that's kind of like a peacock and like a dark partridge, or, I mean, I've used pheasants, you know, that, like the body. Yeah, well, it's more up on the body. I don't know, some people call them like church windows or something like that. I don't know. When you hackle them on there, they're kind of dark, but they've got some iridescent green in them, and that they work pretty good for that. So, or like a dark dun type color. Does that make sense? So don't be afraid to, like, you know, and this goes for all year round. Like, I don't necessarily fish exactly what's coming off. Like, I make a fly, like I use like an elk hair caddis. I just tear off some of the body. I use that during the summer to make like crane flies. Just use a used up elk hair caddis, makes a great crane fly. So don't be afraid to change up stuff. Use what you have. Albeit, go to your shop though and get the fly that is working. So there you go. There's a brook trout. Look how clear that water is. That fish is under the water and it's super clear. So fish those deeper holes, riffles. That drop off, right as the riffle comes off and then you've got a drop, that right there is hands down one of the best spots to catch them. They are sitting there watching as that riffle dumps off. They're eating those flies as they come off the riffle. Because the riffle is the kitchen right there. That's where the bugs are. They get dislodged. They're right in there. Midday heat up. Again, this is where you can sleep in a little bit, have that big breakfast, get out there. Don't wait too late though. If you happen to hit one of those warm days, it'll actually go in reverse. You've got a nice day, super great. Next thing you know, about 2:30, 3 o'clock, all of a sudden you're like, man, I was catching fish like crazy. Now it's totally shut off. That's where that thermometer comes in handy. Put your thermometer in there, next thing you know, you're like, man, that water is super cold. It's all the runoff. We've got all this snowpack now. You start melting that snowpack, where does it go? Into the creeks. Now you've lowered that temperature. And you'd be amazed, few degrees one way or the other will turn on those fish and turn them off. So just thermometer, find your sweet spot. You know, if you've got like, say 52, 55 degree water and you drop it down 5 degrees, those fish are gonna shut down. So that little degree change is gonna make a different day. Sunny days and just before a storm front, this is me fishing as the snow is just falling. It was a phenomenal day, probably one of my best. There's old school thermometer right there. Again, you're looking for that 50 degrees and right in that range right there, 55. They're gonna start feeding. Anything lower than that, I mean, I've fished 42-degree water. I've caught a few fish here and there. If they're hungry, they'll eat, but they are super, super slow then. I mean, you've got to slow down to an absolute crawl.
I'm assuming to find that warmer water, you gotta be near a spring?
Yes, I'm getting into that. Find springs and you should find more fish. This is where doing a little bit of scouting, taking a little time, using that thermometer. Say you happen to have a week where it gets really, really, really cold. Polar vortex comes down. All of a sudden, all your water is locked up. Guess what? Jump in the car, go drive around, take a walk, be careful. It's super cold out there. You're gonna find open water at the springs. They're there. Here's the thing, write it down, know where it is. Because guess what? In the summertime, that's where the cold water is. In the wintertime, that's where the warm water is, even though it's the same temperature. Comes out of the ground about 52 degrees. Does that make sense? Coming out of the ground, 52 degrees. Say it's 90, coming out of the ground, 52 degrees. I don't encourage that during the hot, hot summer though, because that's their only reprieve. Same thing for super cold, but usually super cold, they can adjust to that. But in the summertime, I mean, I've had guys tell me, oh, they caught 50 fish out of this one spot. And I'm like, yep, give them a break, guys. Go smallie fishing. So there you go. You can tell, nice summer day, nice warm day right there. Little bit of snow there. Super good. Sun's out. It's one of the few times where guides are like, yeah, we love the sun. Any other time during the summer, we want it overcast, rainy, kind of crappy. But during the wintertime, okay to have those super bluebird days. There's another big streamer eater. Again, you can kind of tell, wintertime, I love the streamer. It's one of the easier ways of kind of doing it. It's a great search pattern too. Like if you're into some new water, don't be afraid to use that as a search pattern. And they're gonna do one of two things. They're either gonna run from it or they're gonna eat. You know, you have a big streamer ripping through there, they're either gonna run from it or eat. One of my clients there. And this is kind of fishing along kind of the edge of a pool right here, hitting those spots, a little bit of snow on the ground. So slightly deeper water, this guy's fairly tall and he's right at just above his knee level. So kind of a pool area. There's some stuff, and you can find them even in this short water. Pretty thin area, but this guy's fishing right up in this zone, right up in here. There's a slight little divot in there. So final thoughts, big thing, have fun. It's supposed to be recreational, it's supposed to be fun. PFA, if you ever fish with me, you know I talk about this all the time. Positive fishing attitude. It is a huge thing. If you don't think you're gonna catch fish, it's really hard to catch fish on that day. If you think you're gonna catch fish, you're more apt to catch fish. So wintertime, great time to get out fish. It's challenging. Great way to get outside. Like everybody gets those like crazy days. You've been inside for the last week because it's been crappy and stuff like that. Getting outside is a great way to just enjoy nature, enjoy why you got into the sport. Definitely adds more time fishing. It will help you find stuff that you can fish later on in the season too. again, kind of like summer fishing, finding those sweet spots. Usually there's a little less anglers out there too. We've all seen this since COVID. There's more anglers out there. So yeah, wintertime kind of weeds out the, people that only fish in the spring or summer and all that. And you might catch some fish. That's a pretty chunky toad right there. And then that right there, that was my first fish of the 2018 season. Nice little tiger trout right there. We affectionately call that the year of the tiger because that was the same year I left my full-time job. So it was kind of an omen for that season. Was fishing was really great. So yeah, thank you guys much. Get out there and fish. Yes.
So streamers and stuff, are you stripping them, or is it really just like a slow?
It's kind of, again, it kind of depends. If it's a really nice day, water's maybe a little warmer, I'm going to strip them. If it is a cooler day, maybe a little more overcast, I'm going to let them kind of swing down and across. Mm-hmm. Again, you kind of got to adjust to how the fish are going to feed. If they tend to be a little more aggressive, you're going to strip them a little bit. If they're really kind of soft, they just want it like served right into their face, you're going to swing down and across. And it just kind of depends on the situation. I'd say I'll try to, if I'm pulling streamers, I'm going to try to move them a little bit more. But say I'm going into a deeper hole, I've got to let it get down. So I'm going to kind of get into position where I've got time for it to like cast, slowly start going down through that hole. Again, that drop off is probably where they're going to be, as opposed to like the middle or completely on the bottom. They're going to be kind of looking up when they're in that hole. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. And then pulling that across, kind of that in front of the shelf, if that makes sense. So yeah, kind of that. And again, though, you might catch them on the tail out too, as it kind of starts coming back up again. Kind of like a nymph being drug up. Again, during the wintertime, those black stones do the same thing. They come out of the water. So having it raise up actually can cause them to eat too. So hopefully that, again, the streamer game, you adjust depending on your water temp, conditions, how the fish are reacting.
I always tell people generally, at least on the spinning gear side of things, slow is definitely the way to go.
Right.
You're not tossing panther martins and ripping them past fish. Right. They're not going to chase them down. Right.
You have to think about how, if you were swimming in that water, how would you react? Now, granted, we're warm weather. We'd be trying to get out there super fast. But if you live there and it's super cold, you're going to be a lot slower. If it's 55, if it's upwards of in the 60s, you're going to be moving a lot faster because you're cold-blooded. You're moving a lot faster then. So adjust accordingly. Again, you can't go wrong with going too slow. I'd say most people go too fast. I'm notorious for that. Especially early, smallmouth fishing, I'm not super good at that. I just go too fast. I love to strip the streamer a lot faster. So you can't go wrong going slower. Easy prey, fish are going to key in on that. So yeah, you can't go wrong, especially wintertime, low and slow. Nice and easy. You can always speed it up. It's better than going too fast and then scaring them and then they're not coming in. If you see them kind of rolling towards it, slow down a little bit. And then you'll start hopefully getting hookups Yes?
So in the winter, are you typically fishing bigger water than you would the rest of the year, or do you kind of fish the same stuff?
I usually tend to go to slightly bigger water because that water tends to hold the temperature a little better. Those tiny little streams that are the size of the table, that water's going to fluctuate so much, and then they've usually moved out of there. Some of that water can actually completely freeze, so they're going to move out of there. They just can't handle that. They're going to go into the deeper holes. They're going to go where more water is. So yeah, a little bit bigger. Like where I'm at, the West Fork is pretty consistent. It's a little bit bigger water. Timber Coulee is another one. It's got some deep holes, etc. The Bad Axe, especially as you get towards the Mississippi and that. Like it's slightly bigger water, a little more consistent. You're looking for that consistent water temp. Again, it's going to fluctuate no matter what, but so yeah, great question. I know some guys they'll definitely hit the bigger water if they can. Does tend to hold bigger fish too. Like those big fish will move into that bigger water.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So I used to work for Dane County Land Conservation. I did quite a bit of stream restoration here in the west part of Dane County. So we put in for habitat, we put in cross logs, rock weirs, lunkers, rut rods, things like that. So you were talking about the riffles. So if you came upon like a cross log or a rock weir, where are they going to be in relation to that? Are they going to be further down the hole? Or are they going to be, there's a little bit of slack water
Right.
underneath that?
I'm not sure if I have a great picture of.
Underneath that cross log.
Let's
Also,
see if
PJ,
I
do
can-
you have a box of like winter flies that you could pass around, or?
So it's kind of weird. I use the same stuff that I use all season.
Okay.
I have like nymphs, streamers, and all that. It's pretty much the same stuff. Let's see if I can find that picture. And I don't. Yeah, so like say this riffle right here, this riffle is like coming down and then it kind of pools out a little bit here. So as it's coming over, say you have a log that's coming over, I think they're going to be maybe just a little bit, they're not going to be right as it dumps in. They've got to get back a little bit so they can see. What's that?
They're going to be beyond or downstream from the pump.
Yeah, a little bit. A little bit. I mean, I've seen them tucked right underneath too. Again, it's, if you know certain plunge pools and you know that they like to hide right there as it dumps off, like I've got a spot on the West Fork and there's like a really nice riffle and then it kind of dumps down and it drops maybe 1.5 feet. They like to be right on that edge. But the weird thing is there'll be a few that are just a little bit past once that water starts calming down after it goes over that plunge pool. So I try to fish it all. If
So are you picking off, so when you come upon that, you picking off the back one?
Yeah, so what I'm doing, so usually I like to downstream a lot when I'm winter fishing. Because usually you're not kicking up as much silt because I'm usually off the edge or whatever. I do upstream fish as well. That's my normal upstream fishing, but I do downstream. One, because I can swing the fly a little bit. I can swing that nymph down. If I were to get into a position, I might switch up and have like an indicator or an indicator fly, etc. So I'm hitting the top of the riffle. I would try to without lining them too bad. Again, that's why I go to a 9-foot leader. Because if you fish with me, most of the time I'm a 7-foot leader guy. Wintertime I switch to 9-foot. Just adds a little. So I'll try to hit right as the riffle dumps in, and then go from there. Because they'll see it coming down. If you dump in right before it, you're not totally lining them. Again, you're dealing with a riffle, so they're not going to be lined as much. And nowadays with all that stuff, it's like you're not using a fluorescent orange line on it. But yeah, you'll just kind of hit that. And then when you start getting hits, that's what it's going to be like for most of your pools. Like you're kind of, like anything, like the bass guys, they all go out and they basically profile them and they figure out where they are. And unless the weather really changes, that's where they're going to be. Like if they're 3 feet beyond the plunge pool, every pool is going to kind of be like that, unless something's really different. Does that make sense? Like that's going to be standard. Now it can change throughout the day. They may actually move right. Like you get a really nice warm day and you've got a ton of those like black stoneflies coming off of the riffle. Those fish are going to move into the riffle. Like they'll move into the riffle and they will feed on dries in the riffle. And you're like, most people are like, yeah, that doesn't compute for them. Like they're like, what? This is dry fly fishing in the middle of winter and they're eating? Again, they're, I've caught them on, it's amazing. I've used flies that I've pulled off of my pack, and I've caught them on like beetles and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. They don't care. Like they're all of a sudden they're like looking up and they eat the fish or they eat the fly. So sometimes it's just luck, between that dry and all that. So yeah, any other questions? Don't hesitate. Yes.
So do you have any secrets for ice in your guides? That's something that's a huge problem if it's below freezing.
It is a huge problem. Ice in the guides. I've never really gone out and bought the paste that you can put into it. I have used like, lip wax, whatever, Carmex, whatever. That kind of works. Most of the time, though, it's usually in the first 3 guides. I just put my rod tip in the water and let it melt off. Mm-hmm. If it starts getting farther down, it's usually because it's really freaking cold, mm-hmm. and probably too cold to be fishing. But just swishing it around in the water is enough to get it to usually melt off. Because the water's moving, it's going to melt it off. Taking a little extra minute and just breaking it out is a good thing. Last year I broke a rod tip opening day because my brain malfunctioned and I'm like, strip set. And I totally strip set. It was locked in. It just broke the tip section off of the rod. And I'm like, that sucked. It happens. Luckily, a replacement 5 days later, so all good. But it does happen. Biggest thing is don't sit there and try to just wave it around. Just take a minute, put it down. Just use your thumb and just pop it out. Usually works. Again, though, like chapstick or whatever kind of works. I mean, I've heard all kinds of, they have a paste that's for it.
Silicone spray.
Yeah. I mean,
yeah.
Again, you start getting into some of that. If it's not really meant, I mean, most fly line now is pretty durable, but if it's got some sort of chemical that doesn't agree with fly line now, and fly line right now it's expensive. So take care of it. Again, I've used fly line cleaner and I've cleaned my line really good, and that actually helps keep the water off of your stuff. Mm-hmm. So cleaning your fly line is actually as good as putting on the paste. Like I found fly line that I've, maybe didn't clean it the end of the season, just used it. Much more water got onto my guides, froze up, yada, yada, yada. A nice, fresh, clean line, less water, less possibility of icing. So that's kind of a key, and a lot of that stuff is kind of like silicone based too. So good clean lines will help, especially in the casting. When you pick up, all that water just dissipates off of it. Again, it's a waterproofer. I mean, I've even used like fly floating on there too. Mm-hmm. I usually Again, I try not to fish when it's that cold that I get ice in the guides super bad, but it happens.
Yeah.
It's all part of it. Yeah.
Can you talk about what you do when you're done fishing, like with your gear? Are you leaving stuff in your car or your truck, or are you letting stuff kind of dry off?
I definitely will bring it inside. Most of my gear storage is in my garage or in my house. Again, being a guide, it's everywhere. But when I get done with my day, I bring it into the house to try to dry it out. I have like one of those Pete's boot dryers, 4 waders. I will try to dry that out. Again, you'd be amazed at how much you perspire, even in those, like a Gore-Tex style, a breathable. You get a lot of moisture inside of your waders. So I don't necessarily pull them out, but I let them dry, put them on that dryer. That works really good. Again, like keeping them in your car. I mean, if you're on a trip and that's what you had, that's what you do. But, if you can go into your house where it's warm, let that stuff dry, it's going to help it in the long run actually survive a little bit more. Same thing with your rod and reel. Your reel actually, that's the other thing, your reel actually will freeze up too. I've had that happen where the reel, like I avoid dunking my reels as much as I can because that's usually where the gunk is, dropping it into the bottom. However, it happens. It's not the end of the world, but I've had them freeze up, and next thing you know, you're like trying to warm them up. Guess what? Don't use your hands to warm them up. That's just going to make your hands go cold. Just tuck it out. Take a break. Go back to your truck. Take the reel off. If you just have to loop the line up and stuff because it can't reel, just bring it into your car. Tuck it into your wader pants. I wouldn't necessarily put it onto the heater vent with it going full blast at 100 degrees, but it wouldn't hurt it to just kind of get the initial melt off to get it going. Does that make sense? Like use common sense on it. A lot of heat will start affecting, it usually won't affect the reel or your fly rod, but it will start affecting your line. Like extreme heat, you can, I don't know if you could get your car to heat up enough to actually melt that line, but I wouldn't want to find out. So yeah, like tucking it in your waders sometime. Again, trying to keep it dry as best you can. I usually carry like a towel or a little like microfiber towel to keep my hands dry. Dry it off that way too. If it gets dunked. Like it'll pull enough water off. So, and I do have, my boxes and stuff like that if you want to peruse. I got some stickers and cards and all that stuff up here. If you have any other questions.
I have one other question.
Yes.
Talking about the fish in cold weather, at like 20 degrees, how quickly is that trout starting to freeze up? And
Great question.
you want to get a photo or don't even bother with the photo, get it back in the water.
Just like summertime. I see everybody, the grip and grin. I mean, you saw an awful lot of fish with pictures. I try to look at it this way. If it's so cold that your guides are freezing up and all that, like pretty quick, maybe you don't need to take that picture. Or take that picture of the fish in the net, in the water, and that. I mean, I've heard stories where guys are like, oh, they instantly freeze. If it's that cold, I'm surprised you're catching fish. If it's really that cold, like you come out and your waders instantly freeze, probably a little too cold to fish. Same thing with the fish. When they come out of the water, they could freeze you, and especially their eyes and their gills, heavily susceptible. Again, you have to think about it. Is it really worth, I mean, we've all taken pictures of them. I know I've killed fish in the past. I am not perfect in any way. plenty of grip and grins. But a 10-inch fish, how many more pictures of a 10-inch fish do you need? Now, if it was a 20, I would definitely be like, I want to take a picture of it, but it's so cold, I'll just take a picture of it in my net. So I do try to be cognizant of that. Again, I don't think you're wrong at picking it up, taking a quick picture. Like, be prepared. Like, keep it in your net. Again, it's like a little aquarium for them. Get your camera out, do whatever you got to do, have your buddy grab it, etc. And then dip, up, picture, back in, gone. Does that make sense? And just know, it is a blood sport, so some are going to die. I mean, if you caught 100 fish in one day, between 4 and 10 are usually going to die. So just do what you can to prevent that. I mean, and if you keep fish, again, you can't in the early season, but you know what I mean? Great question, though. Yeah, that is an important thing. I definitely wouldn't throw it up on the bank in the snow. That will kill them. Like, that's snow and like that's ice to them, and that's not going to do good. They are not going to do well that way. So use your net. Again, like, there's a reason why I've got a big giant net. It's a great place to keep them. And then you can fiddle faddle around, get your camera ready and all that. Especially when you got layers, you know, inevitably you'll find out that you tucked it down into this pocket instead of this pocket. And
Another nice reason for a GoPro.
right, yeah, exactly. Any other questions? Ask away, come up here.
Piggybacking with this gentleman in conservation, you kind of see a real gradual integration or increasing of using cover crops and so on. So does that really help, strengthen these populations in the streams you're fishing? And even as you come a little bit more east here in our more glaciated
Sure.
areas here and stuff, is that helpful?
Yeah, I'm noticing
Anything like that at all?
so I'm noticing a little bit more, and this goes into like throughout the season. I'll notice during, like, say, like a big runoff. Like, we haven't had a really good runoff year where you're like, oh man, that's heavy runoff. Part of that is we just haven't had the snowpack like we've had before. Although I've heard this year it's going to be pretty big. It's going to be like 2 to 3 snow events a week, which would be great. We do need water. There is no doubt in my mind. The more water, the better. We cannot get enough. I do think a lot of farmers are putting cover crops on there. They're not doing, they're kind of going to no-till a little bit more, which is a huge thing. I do notice in the springtime, when they're putting crops in, before the crops have totally come up, we get a kind of a heavy rain. Next thing you know, there's a lot of muddied up. Again, though, that's how we all eat. But I don't see it in the volume that I've seen in the past. When I first started coming here, like, I would see it a lot more. Now I'm not seeing it as much. Some of that is, TU doing some stuff to prevent some of that. Again, though, you get into, where I'm at, the Driftless, like, it's all erosion based out there. That's how the Driftless was made. So you're going to have erosion. That's the topography, everything involved. It's what it is. That's how that whole area. As you come into an area that's been glaciated, it's maybe going to be a little bit less. I mean, like central sands and that, you're not going to get it as much because it tends to be more sandy. Did that kind of answer your question? I mean, it's there. If you're kind of hitting some areas that are heavily farmed, as opposed to some areas that aren't heavily farmed, you'll see it. The heavier farmed areas are going to have a little bit more runoff. So, you had a question?
Well, I was just going to make a comment that with the stream bank restoration and habitat that's put in, a lot of these streams before any work's done, they're very down cut, very vertical banks. You had some of those pictures
Yep.
there.
Oh yeah.
And so we pull that bank back at least to a 3-to-1. It's best if it's like a 5 to 8 to 1.
Right.
And then you're reconnecting the stream to the floodplain there, and just that helps to helps to reduce the amount of sediment that's directly
Sure.
during high water times or runoff events.
Yeah.
That sediment's getting into that stream.
Right.
And then with some of the habitat that's done, literally you're flushing the stream, the sediment that's the soft sediment that's in the stream. You're flushing that out. DNR here in our Dane County streams, I'm sure in other counties too, they've done, prior to us doing some stream restoration work, they had done some shocking, and then afterwards they did additional shocking, and the amount of sculpin, the sculpin population just skyrocketed, because now you're exposing all that nice cobble bedrock,
Right.
stone, hard bottom, that the
Yeah, they definitely do better with rock. I mean, there is obviously like the hacks and all that. They like a muddy substrate and that. Again, I've just noticed, especially with we are seeing much more bigger rain events, especially as the season goes through. Last year, knock on wood, we didn't have, like 2018 was a horrendous year. I mean, we all got hit here. Out where I'm at, they had a 500 and 100-year flood in the same week. It's different now. We're seeing these events occur much more frequently. I don't think it's going to change unless we change, and we can only do so much. Now we're getting into politics, so let's veer off that. We don't need to get that way. But, just try to do good. Encourage, these farmers, they're trying to make a living as much as we're all trying to enjoy fishing. Some of it just happens. But we're doing stuff. TU is helping a lot. DNR is trying to help. Again, try to be good stewards, pick trash, etc. But I mean, we're seeing it out there. I kind of, at times, I don't mind having a good flush, because one, it starts changing a few things, and it pushes that sediment that is just kind of normal throughout the year going in there. It actually helps push that stuff out, cleans up the rock, ready for a new season. Anybody else?
Where are you based out of?
I'm out of Westby, Wisconsin, so we're right next to Viroqua, and that I do walk and wade trout trips. I'm one of the few that I run a raft as well for trout. There's only 2 of us in the region that are doing trout trips in a raft. It's hit or miss. It's usually early season only. And then I run a drift boat or my raft for smallmouth, either on the Wisconsin, the Chip. And then when it gets too hot to fish for trout, I give them a break. They're my fishing partners, and I give them a break, and I go. Smallmouth are way better in a drift boat when it's super hot like that. Give those trout a break. Go smallie fishing, super fun. Great. Yeah, I mean, and that's the beauty of the Midwest here. Like, we have it all. Like, we've got pike, we got muskie, we got smallmouth, we got trout. I mean, you can't go wrong. There's tons of fish. I mean, just around Madison here, my wife worked here in Madison, and I fished all around here, and there is some phenomenal water around here. Like, you don't even have to leave. There's so much out there, and you guys get to ice fish and all that. Where I'm at, like, I'd have to go over to the Mississippi or.
Spot here, we got the lakes, we got Lake Wisconsin,
Yep.
Reservoir, we got natural lakes here, and then you go 10 miles, you 15, 20 miles. You
Right.
go Driftless. It's
Exactly, like
And then
you've
you got the Mississippi.
exactly.
Really
It's the beauty of this
doesn't get
this
much
region. Yeah, I mean, I've got friends that are on the East Coast and the West Coast and all that, and I'm like, we have it all right here. We have it all. So that's kind of the beauty of it. And we have a winter here, we have a summer, we have spring, we have fall. I mean, you know, if we could just have 6 months of everything, it'd be great. Like, I always think fall is just way too short. Like, I love fishing in the fall, so. Any other questions? Feel free to grab a brochure, card. I got stickers up here. Ask questions, peruse my stuff. I did count every fly on my bag and all that stuff, just so you know. Just kidding. So,
Let's give PJ a round of applause. That was great.
yeah,
Yeah.
super fun.
Yeah, so a couple other things I failed to mention at the beginning. If you want somebody who's obviously an expert to take you out, hire PJ. He does a great job and, you know, guides down this way and up his way and everywhere in between.
Yeah, I'm kind
And-
of all over. I mean,
yeah.
I've fished out of, on the Wisconsin right down there at the dam and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Great water. I usually try to go a little bit farther up though.
One other thing, we do have a raffle going on out front. It's mostly for ice fishing. We're giving away one of Kevin, who's up front, makes these awesome custom ice fishing rods for shallow water bluegill. The proceeds go to benefit Josie's Gift, which is a group that gets kids that are fighting cancer out fishing, gives them really nice rods, custom built rods. So $5 for a ticket, you can win the rod, but also Kurt was kind enough to donate a bunch of his tungsten flies for that too. So it's an awesome prize package. What's that? And the fly box. Yep. I think the whole package is $250 or something when you add it all up. So it's a nice prize package to benefit a good cause. So pick up a $5 ticket on your way out if you could. You know, one thing I was going to say, you did a great job with all the like gear and stuff. Talking about camo. One thing that I do when there's snow on the ground, I went to Goodwill and buy an oversized white dress shirt. So white instead of if there's snow on the ground. Yeah,
Yes.
it works great, and it really helps hide you when there's snow on the ground. But otherwise, I wear camo year round.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty much,
Yeah.
I wear camo and all that. Although, if you are fishing the early season, you might want to put that on once they start deer hunting and stuff. But,
Oh yeah, yeah.
but
But no, yeah. I just remembered that. But,
yeah, all good.
So yeah, great job, PJ. We're gonna
Thanks.
do a raffle. Did everybody write their name down on a little ticket? Anybody not? Okay. So first we're gonna do. I just got a couple of gift cards here to the shop, and then again,
Yeah.
Kurt was kind enough to donate 17 flies here, so that's something like that.
Yeah.
But these are a lot of.
Most of them are size 14, there's some 16s, there are a couple pink squirrels in there of size 14 and 16.
Pink squirrel killer fly. I mean, it's basically all I run in the winter. I mean, it's just awesome fly. But also, there's this little like, what do you call this one with the black with the hackle?
I call it my peacock pearl.
Yeah, yeah.
It's basically a woolly bugger.
Yeah, but I mean, that's exactly kind of what you're talking about with like
Yeah.
the,
Oh yeah, absolutely.
like for the stones.
It'd be wet
Yeah.
fly.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
Stonefly and nymph, absolutely.
Yep.
Those
So
all look good.
yeah, they're
Works
great
on
little
gills.
flies. Yep. And yeah, if you ice fish, great, awesome.
Well, all of those, but I'm talking about that peacock pearl.
In the spring.
They're spawning, yeah.
Yeah, in the spring is awesome. Yeah,
Heck
for
yeah.
sure.
With a fly rod.
But yeah, thanks again, Kurt, for donating these. But yeah, do you want to?
Okay.
You already grabbed the ticket. Is this for the
Oh.
top prize or?
This is for the $15 gift card.
Okay.
Let's see, Mike
Mike Pernat.
Burnett.
Mike, there he is.
Nice.
All right, get you the card here. Thanks everybody so
Are we
much for coming out. Really
Putting it back
appreciate it.
in or?
It's a
Okay.
great turnout. Yeah. Now we have a $25 gift card.
Okay. Let's see, BJ Byers.
There he is.
Nice.
All right. Thank you
Dun,
for
dun,
coming.
dun.
And the grand prize.
And the grand prize
Collection
for
Uncle
the
Kurt's flies.
Kurt's flies, PJ Smith. Oh wait, no. Kent.
Kent.
Emerson.
There you go. He's got him.
Nice.
Yeah. Great. Oh yeah, there you
There
go.
you go.
And Kurt wants to get a picture or something. You want to take that? Hey. Yeah, we'll get you. Thanks again, everybody. Really appreciate you
Yep.
coming out.
Thank you,
Yeah.
guys.
And yeah, thanks again, PJ. Yeah, it's my pleasure. Thanks so much, PJ. That was
Oh,
awesome.
absolutely, Pat. This was awesome.
That was great.
Thank you. Thank you.
So I'm gonna like pound on you a little bit. Kid's embarrassed, I'll go over there.